All right, we are back here on the Sky Guys podcast, getting you ready for our bracket season here. We are covering the lightsaber battle bracket, the best lightsaber battles in Star Wars canon. I'm one of your hosts, Mike Phillips. With me, as always, the man who's your narration every single week. Pete Consadori is here, but since we have lightsabers, I figure it'd be not fair for you to have to do a bunch of whoosh whoosh sounds like every time every week.
I mean, I can do them if you need to.
I said,
I, I'm
we'll give
not.
you
I'm not opposed to it.
we'll give you a break.
Okay, I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm excited to talk about this. This is a long time coming. We've been talking about this for quite a while. This concept, so I'm excited that we're finally here. And I'm excited to see what we have on the brackets and where we go with it.
Yep. Also here with us today, the lead choreographer of this podcast, Nick Fraietta, is here. Nick, how are you?
Doing good. Been a while since we've done an actual podcast. So those who don't know, the last month has been all pre-recorded content. So we're back.
Minus the acolyte.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Since the Acolyte, all of our stuff's been pre-recorded.
I mean, we had the one podcast with the acolyte.
Cancellation, you mean?
Yeah, the reaction one. That
Yeah.
one not pre-recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah. So glad to have you here. And also with us here, we have the members of our selection committee who put the bracket together here. As always, first up, the legal correspondent of the Justice and Suffering podcast and one of the chief bracketologists on the Star Wars side, Phil Fraietta, is here. Phil, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me back. I'm excited. I thought this was a good prompt when we were given it.
Yep. And also here with us here, you heard him hang out with us for all of August during Micro Month. Max Roberts is back with us here, the other bracketologist on the panel. Max, how are you?
I'm good, Mike. Happy to be back and happy to be doing this bracket. Was an interesting one to put together, and I'm excited to hear what you guys think of it.
Yeah, excited to hear this too. This feels like this is the year of Max Roberts on the podcast here. We got like all these Micro Months. He came on a couple of shows, so fun year for Max.
I am still waiting on the Let's Play KOTOR podcast. But yeah, I've loved being a part of Micro Month and going through Clone Wars, and I was on the bracket last year for the best animated to live action transitions. So
Yeah, yeah, you guys did a great job with the bracket, so we asked you back to come on here. And Pete wants to subscribe to the Sky Guys podcast and do so Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, Amazon, all usual suspects. Simply search for the Sky Guys favorite podcast platform. Find us there and here. We had a lot of bracket coming here, so you want to stay up to date with this bracket, see who's going to be the top lightsaber battle of all time. Make sure you're subscribed.
Yeah, I mean, for those who've listened to us, I'm tired of telling you guys to subscribe. I mean, at this point, if you haven't subscribed, it's foolish. It's free. Do it. If you're new here, please subscribe. It's free.
Yep. And Nick, if you want to follow social media, how can I do that?
At Sky Guys Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Threads, and TikTok.
Yep. You can also check out the YouTube version, Mike Phillips on YouTube. We have all the fun props and graphics. We're going to show you our social media comment of the week. This is from our Twitter page, actually. This is from, we talk about the Acolyte here. This guy is from Patsy86793733 on his Twitter here. In respect to Manny Jacinto coming back to Star Wars after the Acolyte was canceled. And they say, Star Wars doesn't deserve him. I hope he moves on to Marvel or from Disney altogether better project. Not going to accept the role we're in, then bring him back to quickly kill him off. So, I feel like there's a lot of Manny Jacinto eyes here, Phil, from the Acolyte. He's this one universal positive.
I thought it was great. It's a shame that they couldn't get the show to work. I thought he was a bright spot in what otherwise wasn't a very good show.
Yeah, so it's a shame. Well, we'll see if we get more Manny Jacinto's kind of in our lives in the future here. But Nick, we covered the biggest news in that emergency episode a few weeks ago, but I believe you have a lot you want to run through here to catch us up on what we missed over the month we were pre-recording.
Yeah, I'm going to save the biggest one for last week because it's the only one I think we're actually going to discuss. We're going to just rifle through the other ones. So the first is while we were away, Disney dropped a trailer for Mando and Grogu at D23. It shows Zeb flying them around. There was also a trailer for Skeleton Crew that was shown off there. Well, I guess we could just go quick. And I mean, to me, it looked pretty cool. No, I'm not really high hopes. And not that I don't have high hopes, but I'm not expecting much from the show. So if the show's okay, that's fine by me. That's more than I'm expecting.
The bar is low. I'll say that the bar is low. And Max, we got suburban Star Wars.
Say it one more time.
We got suburbia in Star Wars in the Skeleton Crew trailer.
It's it's good to see different locations, but I agree with Nick that you just have to be better than the Acolyte. Like they've set a very low bar, and as long as you're better than that, you're good.
Pete, anything you want to add before we move on, or?
No, I think, yeah, no.
All right.
Next is that Tim Morrison revealed that he was supposed to be in Mando season 4, but he's not currently supposed to like appear in the movie. So we'll see what happens with Boba Fett and Tim Morrison. Like that's just a quiet phantom IL, if you will.
Yep.
The lead writer of Star Wars Eclipsed has left Quantum Dream. He'll be making the game. So as we kind of predicted, this is going more towards development hell. I'm sure this game will never come, but if it does, we're here.
Yep.
Sigourney Weaver officially confirmed that she is in The Mandalorian and Grogu. So we got another cast member there. Natasha Liu Barizo, who plays Sabine in the Ahsoka show, has revealed that season 2 of Ahsoka will not start shooting until the following summer. So summer of 2025. We just talked about Manny. And Manny Jacinto says that he is making it his personal goal to get season 2 of The Acolyte greenlit. Doesn't really make much sense.
Good
Not
luck
gonna
with
happen.
that.
Yeah. So I mean, good luck, but it's not happening. And Ewan McGregor's getting a star on the Walk of Fame, and Hayden Christensen's going to speak at the ceremony. That part I didn't know.
Yeah, that's new.
And then the big news is, as of recording, I believe it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, the voice of Darth Vader, James Earl Jones, passed away at 93 years old.
Yeah, very sad to see James Earl Jones pass away. A lot of the original Star Wars cast members have passed away now, Phil, and it feels like we got to take some time to appreciate the legacy James Earl Jones has left, not only in Star Wars but as an actor as a whole. He's in a lot of great stuff.
Yeah, it's well, obviously a presence in a lot of things. I think I'll always personally associate him with Field of Dreams, which I think was his best role. But obviously, the voice of Darth Vader and the voice of Mufasa, and plenty of other big roles for James Earl Jones. So sad day, but the original trilogy is old now, and unfortunately, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, P. I feel like obviously, I don't think the legacy of of Star Wars is what it is without James Earl Jones as Darth Vader's voice. I think that he's so iconic in that role.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like Phil said, we can't glaze over the fact that he was a phenomenal actor outside of, the suit, right? So, he's a freaking legend. He'll always be up there in status when it comes to the greatest actors to be around. So, it's very sad to hear of the passing of him.
I don't know if anyone has seen this, but there's a video about the making of episode 4 where they show Darth Vader as voiced by David Prowse, who's the guy in the suit. And it's like Darth Vader with this Scottish accent, and it sounds hilarious and unthreatening. And then, of course, they put in James Earl Jones, and it just transforms this character into what he is. And he was still voicing Vader in games and movies up to this day. He's an undeniable presence on the screen, on the stage, and of, I think, all of our childhoods, not just Star Wars, but Field of Dreams, Sandlot, Lion King. He's just amazing actor.
Nick, if you have anything to add, otherwise we can move on.
No, it's just that it's obviously very sad, but it's I don't want to say expected, but New Hope's coming up on the 50-year anniversary, so it's not as who's left. Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, is that it?
Roughly.
Anthony Daniels.
Anthony Daniels still around.
Anthony Daniels.
Yeah, Peter Mayhew, right? He passed away. Kenny Baker.
I believe everybody else passed away.
Yeah, I believe so.
And Mark Hamill was relatively young when that movie came out, so it's not like he's older like that. So it's I don't want to say expected, but at the same time, it's a long time.
Yeah, he lived a very long and successful life.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that's it for the news here. Let's get to we'll shift gears now back to our bracket here, the lightsaber battle bracket. So we are basically turning this floor over to Phil and Max a little bit here. But first of all, just to set the concept up here, Phil. So basically, we sort of set this mission here. We gave you a list of potential brackets of lightsaber battles and asked you to rank these guys. So the basic idea we have here is pick the best lightsaber battles in canon that involve at least two combatants using lightsabers against each other.
So yes, and that's important. I want to clarify. We considered adding some Clone Wars 2003, but we decided to just stick with canon. So it's only canon. And yeah, we went for the best lightsaber battles. There is one entry on the bracket that I think some people might quibble about whether it's a lightsaber battle or not, but we put it in there. But that's
I
what we
already
were
know
looking
what
for.
it is.
Well, I know what it is. I don't. Y'all, I'm not sure if you know.
I know
it.
you know what it is. I'll be honest. If it's real, I will. If I'm right, I will say I was right. If I was wrong, I'll say I was wrong.
Yeah, and Max, so again, to also clarify for people here, like this involves both participants in the duel in the battle have lightsabers. So this is like like Ahsoka facing Morgan with the Beskar spears, not count.
Correct. Or like Mando facing Moff Gideon with the Darksaber doesn't count. There has to be at least two lightsabers involved in the duel. And I guess with this single exception, they have to be facing each other. So like also, for instance, no Geonosis Coliseum fight, right? Like that's a cool scene in episode 2, but there's not lightsabers with all the Jedi versus the droids.
Yeah, because Dooku is not involved in that fight. He's just supervising.
Correct.
Yeah.
And then, the criteria I guess we used, it's sort of elusive. Obviously, this stuff can be kind of subjective, but I think what we considered is one, the importance in the plot of either the movie or the overall Star Wars saga. Two is the choreography, or I guess sometimes it's CGI. I don't know if that's choreography per se. Three is just like the setting and the score. So how cool is the scenery? What's the background music? I think those are things that we tried to weigh and consider. And I hope that is reflected in the picks that we made and the ordering that we put them in.
Yeah, and Phil also mentioned here, people who are not quite following here, like this is not just the 9 movies. This is anything in Clone Wars, anything from Rebels, anything from the live action shows on Disney Plus. That's all eligible.
Yes, anything that is canon and a visual medium. We didn't include any sort of books or comic books or graphic novels or any of that, but we went with the canon stuff that is on digital media, whether
actually,
it be
so
a movie, TV show, or animated TV show.
There is one clarification. We did not include video games because, although like I think Jedi Survivor Fallen Order is canon and they have lightsaber battles, a lot of that is based on player skill. And so it's not like this choreographed fight. You could be fighting somebody on easy mode and you could just look really stupid, or you could be fighting someone on hard mode and be really good at one of those games. So we did not include video games in the list.
So Nick, your duel with Dak and Gara from Jedi Survivor didn't make the cut.
That's right. I'm assuming the duel with Vader and Jedi Fallen Order did not make the cut either.
Correct.
All right, so we're gonna go through this here, and we were inspired by what we did last year, where we had a play-in game. So we actually have 20 battles in the bracket here. So there are 4 play-ins. You're gonna have a first 4 round next week. That's gonna be exciting.
For sure.
All right, so we're gonna turn it over to you guys to reveal some of the regions here. So I don't care what order you guys go in. I sort of sent you guys the JPEGs. We do not have the technology, Nick, for the fancy CBS style one at a time reveal yet. So we have the JPEG set up here. So I'll turn over to Phil and Max.
You could have made a PowerPoint out of it.
Well,
they had them fade in.
Phil, you want me to share my screen?
Decide the order. Who goes?
Sure.
Where?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Let's do it.
All right, so let's go to our first region.
Okay.
What did you guys name the regions as well?
We did not.
I named them based on what the pairings ended up being. I put the closest connective tissue, basically. That's so I think I was pretty solid with those.
Mike, you need to give me screen sharing.
I will take care of that here in 2 seconds. It should have that right now.
Perfect. Okay. Let's do. Okay. So this is region number 1. Are we all seeing this?
Yes, I am seeing it.
Okay, so this is region number 1. It's the Palpatine region. And in the first seed, we have Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Darth Maul, aka the Duel of Fates from episode 1, versus the 4th seed, which is a play-in between Obi-Wan versus General Grievous in episode 3, and I guess Darth Maul and Savage Opress versus Palpatine Sidious in the Clone Wars TV show. I don't remember what season that was, but Clone Wars TV show.
Season
And
5.
then season 5.
Yeah.
And then the second thing, the second seed is Yoda versus Palpatine in the episode 3. And then versus in the third seed, Mace Windu, I think Sase Tyan, Asian Kolar, and Keith Fisto versus Palpatine Sidious, also in episode 3.
Yes, it's the Palpatine region here, and I will point out, Max, to the audience here, the Duel of Fates is the #1 overall seed in the bracket.
I feel like this is sort of self-evident. I mean, it's just a really well choreographed duel. The music is some of the most iconic in Star Wars. The scenery is amazing. You know, you can say what you will about episode 1. I'm not a big fan of it. But this duel is awesome. And Ray Park obviously is an actual martial artist, and he shows his best.
All right, so Pete, your reaction to this region?
It's gonna be tough. I feel like there's a lot of value here, regardless of the seeding. So I'm excited to see what you guys think as we go through, obviously, in the upcoming weeks. But definitely exciting side of the bracket.
Nick, you got the Palpatine reads. It's very Palpatine generated here, this grouping.
I mean, it's great. I just have a big problem with it, and that's I can't see how Duel of the Fates loses to anything, considering the criteria is the importance, choreography, and the setting, which if you had to rate them all out of 10, I feel like it's 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, and 10 out of 10. So I don't see how it loses to anything, and I know we have about 5 episodes worth of stuff going over this, but I feel like our answer's already there.
Well, we could debate this. We have to.
Well, we have to debate it, sure, but that's that's what the episodes are for. Just because the Panthers are playing the Chiefs doesn't mean they don't play the game. You still got to play the game.
Yeah, you still have to play the game here. So I think that's one region down. Phil, you want to take over? You want to do another region?
Sure.
Ready for the next one?
Yeah, let's do the next one. So the next one you've named the Skywalker region, and when I read off the seeds, I think you'll know why. So the 1 seed in this region is Luke versus Vader from episode 5, which obviously an iconic lightsaber duel. I am your father. So that was a pretty easy #1 seed. And that will be against the winner of the play-in game, which is Rey and Kylo versus the Royal Guard in episode 8. That is the what I alluded to earlier that somebody may quibble about, versus Ahsoka versus Balin, which is in the Ahsoka TV show. The 2 seed is Ahsoka versus Anakin. That is also from the Ahsoka TV show. And the 3 seed is Luke versus Vader in Return of the Jedi. That is the throne room battle in front of the Emperor.
Can you add, Mike, when we go over this, parentheses on what everything is from? Because there are multiple Ahsoka Anakin fights, and I didn't know which one we were talking about at first.
Well, I'll mention it.
I know it's technically Ahsoka Vader, but whatever. You see what I'm saying? Like, we just put in parentheses maybe what it's from, everything.
Yeah,
You know, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I think this was the World Between Worlds fight here. This one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll make a note that we do the actual show.
Yes, we're referencing the World Between Worlds. And obviously we are aware that in the Return of, or the Last Jedi Royal Guard scene, the lightsabers don't actually touch one another, but we thought it was a worthy inclusion because it's a very cool scene, and the Imperial Guard or Royal Guard, whatever you call them, they did have lightsaber-like weapons, so that's why we included it.
Nick, your reaction to this region of the bracket?
I feel like I still like this region. I think this region is far less powerful than the previous region, though. The one seed is still. Is this the number 2 overall seed?
It's the 4, I believe.
4. So I have no issues with the number 1 overall seed. I think it's very obviously one of the top 4 lightsaber battles. So I have an issue with it being 1. The rest of the bracket, although still good, I don't think holds a candle to the Palpatine region.
Well, this region is going to be more fun for us to debate, Pete, because we have a lot of interesting options here to consider.
I mean, I think the first 2 regions are up for a huge debate, and probably the last 2 regions as well. So I think the conversations are going to go very deep cut here, I think.
And I do like the choice to put in the Rey and Kylo fight against the Royal Guard. And I know they start out and compose each other and they work together. And I think some of the best choreography in the sequel trilogy film.
Yeah, but we thought it was a cool scene. Again, I know there's controversy. I know there's controversy about that movie. I know that some people on this podcast don't like that movie, but that particular scene we thought was worthy. And again, the Royal Guard have I don't know exactly what they call them, but they kind of look like lightsabers. So,
okay,
like the Magna Guard looking staffs, right?
Yeah, they function like lightsabers at least.
Yep. All right, so let's go to our next region here. What do you have on next?
All right, so here we have the Obi-Wan region. The number 1 seed is Obi-Wan versus, I guess at this point he's Darth Vader from Episode 3, so the Battle on Mustafar. And this is versus the 4 seed, the play-in, Obi-Wan versus Vader in the last episode of the Kenobi TV show. Yeah, I guess there are 3 different Obi-Wan versus Vader duels, so it's good to specify. And that's going up against Anakin versus Count Dooku in Episode 3 at the very beginning. And in the 2nd seed, we have Ahsoka versus Darth Maul from season 7 of Clone Wars, the final, I think that's the final episode or the finale.
It's that last arc.
What's it?
It's that last arc.
Okay, the last arc going up against Yoda versus Count Dooku from Episode 2.
Yeah, so definitely another fun region here, and obviously a very stacked top seed with the Battle of the Heroes 1 seed, Pete. I do think though, we have some interesting options here to look at in terms of unique lightsaber fights in the rest of the region.
Sure. I think for me, I don't know how you guys feel. I think for me, it's going to be tough to separate between the live action versus the TV shows that are not. Not to say that the lightsaber battles aren't good in the cartoons, but it just, I think choreography is a little bit more realistic, obviously, with the live action. So I think that's where I'm going to have my difficulties through all this. But yeah, I mean, again, interesting conversation with this region as well.
So it's interesting. I think for the Ahsoka versus Maul duel, they did it through motion capture, and they had Ray Park versus, I forget who does this, the motion capture for Ahsoka. But I think one thing that we liked about that was that you had, actual lightsaber choreography, even though it was an animated show.
Yeah,
So
no, it's definitely cool.
A unique perspective here. And Nick, I think obviously, like you said, the 1 seed's a heavy favorite here. I do think the rest of the region, there's some stuff to chew on here in terms of lightsaber battles.
To me, this is the strongest region so far. I think any of the, what are there, 5 listed here?
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, 5 listed here. I think really any of these 5, you can make an argument for getting to I guess we call it the final 4 at that point. So I guess you can make the argument for. So I think this is going to be the one that has the most debate.
Cool.
My personal favorite lightsaber battle is on this list. So
we'll get to that when we get to that bracket in a couple of weeks here. So we have one more region to cover here. Then we'll go over some battles that did not make it here. So
and my personal favorite is not the 1 seed.
Okay.
Ooh.
Interesting.
All right. Ready?
Yep.
And all right, so finally we have the Ahsoka region. And the number 1 seed there is Ahsoka versus Vader. That is obviously from the Clone Wars. Or for Rebels, sorry. And iconic animated scene. That will be against the play-in of we have Doku versus Yaddle from Tales of the Jedi, and we also have that will go up against Rey versus Kylo, which is a bit odd because it's like a virtual battle, the whole Force dyad thing in episode 9, which Max and I tried very hard to keep episode 9 off the bracket, but it made its way on. I like the 2-3 seed here. So the 2 is Obi-Wan versus Vader, episode 4, the very first lightsaber battle anybody had ever seen. And that will go up against Obi-Wan versus Maul, which is from the Clone Wars.
Also Rebels.
Rebels. I apologize. I don't know why I'm mixing up the 2. Rebels. Obi-Wan versus Maul for Rebels.
Yeah, this
so,
is the.
This is when Obi-Wan finally defeats Maul.
Yeah, Maul actually dies in this fight.
Yes. So this gives you a lot of live action versus animated debate, and that's the Ahsoka region.
Nick, your reaction to this region?
This is another really good region. I like every battle on this list except one.
Yeah, I didn't know which one you don't like.
Yeah, well, honestly, it's hard for me to say I don't like it. I saw it once, and I don't remember because I was not happy. So maybe if I watched it again, I would like it. But I like every battle here, and for different reasons too. Like I don't want to spoil the episode coming up, but like quick example is Obi-Wan versus Maul. Importance 10 out of 10. Choreography 1. Setting 10 out of 10. So it's like it's awesome, but at the same time, it has things holding it back. So it's like it's going to be a really good debate when it comes to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, that was a tough one to rank for exactly that reason, because it's like barely a lightsaber battle, but it's such an important scene in like.
I think the lightsabers technically even touch.
Yes, they do. Because Obi-Wan cuts Maul's lightsaber in half.
But the blades don't touch.
I guess the blades don't touch, but one lightsaber touches another lightsaber.
They both get lit.
Or no, they do touch. They have like the couple little slashes, and then he cuts his blade in half.
Oh, at the beginning, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Pete, what do you think about this region?
I mean, to be honest, I think it's the weakest out of all 4, but it's still strong. I mean, I think the conversations, like we mentioned, are going to be very in depth, but I don't think, just at face value, I don't know if any of these get to, win the championship. I really don't.
Yeah, so I don't think we'll get there either here. Thank you guys for sharing here. I'll take over the sharing the screen portion here in a second, because now we can sort of go into some of the ones that did not make the cut, because
yes.
The Nick's NCAA tournament favorite here, where we go into the last 4 in and the first 4 out. So this is going to be a
first 4 out. I think has to be right away. The first one I could think of is episode 7, Kylo versus Rey and Finn.
That is on the list here. So the last 4 in on the board here were Maul and Savage against Palpatine in Clone Wars, Anakin and Dooku in episode 3, Ahsoka versus Balin from Ahsoka, and then Rey versus Kylo's virtual Force die battle episode 9 was the last lightsaber battle to get in the bracket. The first 4 out, virtual the fake Luke trick against Kylo in episode 8, Rey and Finn versus Kylo, as Nick pointed out in The Force Awakens, Chimera versus Soul Patrol, the entire fight from the Acolytes, as the Acolyte did not make the bracket at all. And then Rey versus Kylo, the Death Star wreckage in episode 9. Those are the first 4 did not make the cut here. So any reactions, Pete, to what did not make it?
I'm kind of surprised the Chimera fight didn't make it in. I think I can make a pretty strong argument about importance, setting, and choreography for that one compared to maybe others that made the bracket. However, I do understand that the environment around the Acolyte and the reaction to the Acolyte may have brought it down in ranking so far as the other ones probably are regarded as more important for the story. Again, I could probably make a pretty good argument, but I think everything else seems correct. the Chimera one's just the one that's a little surprising to me.
I will say personally, I thought the Chimera fight was, especially the whole thing was really, really cool. The choreography was good. Manny Jacinto as Chimera was excellent. I think just compared to a lot of the other more iconic duels from the series, and in light of the fact that the Accolade is canceled and we don't see kind of the greater context of it, it was hard to put it higher.
Yeah,
But
they,
it was not.
I
It was
think
not. Go ahead.
there was some recency bias there. Given that the show was canceled, it was just hard to include it amongst the 20 best lightsaber battles ever.
yeah,
But it was not the worst. It was not the worst. It
No.
was 20. It was 23 out of 24.
yeah. And my question for you guys specifically is like, I feel like the Luke versus Kylo one from episode 8, where Luke force projects himself across the galaxy. Like, what was the rationality not putting that one in? Because that was probably my big quibble, the flip flop that and the last one in.
I think just the controversy and some people finding it very silly that Luke was able to do that. The battle also has some silly aspects to it. So I think that's why we left it out. It obviously was right on the border there, but I just find it to be a little silly.
It's also hard with because I mean, one is I think whether or not you like episode 7 or 8 or 9, like the sequel trilogy is just in my opinion weaker than the first two. So the importance to the overall plot is diminished, and then episode 9 kind of guts a lot of what happens in episode 8. So then the importance of that scene is even further diminished. And then on top of that, you don't really have like great choreography. Well, you don't have a ton of great choreography because they don't really fight. So you have less plot importance and not as good choreography as some of the other fights on the list.
Yeah, Nick, any thoughts on this, on what did not make it before we move on?
So of the first four that we're looking at here, I guess we had 20 make the bracket total, right?
Yep.
So 18 of them I'm completely on board. The last two I'm surprised got in, which is Ahsoka versus Balin and Rey versus Kylo. And of the first four out, the two that I would have replaced with is the Chimera fight. I think that it was, I don't know how much I can say it was important, but the choreography and the setting were obviously fantastic. And then I would have put in that episode 7 fight with Rey and Finn and Kylo over, let's say that, like, for example, the Ahsoka versus Balin fight, which I don't even remember.
Yeah.
So I will say, I mean, as to some of these, I know for Anakin versus Dooku, that was one that Phil and I were on the fence about, and Phil made the very good point that that's kind of where you start to see Anakin's transition to Darth Vader in the movies. I guess you have him slaughtering all the Tusken Raiders, but that's also a big scene, and so there was a lot of plot importance there. Ahsoka versus Balin, I actually rewatched when I was looking at this, so I was like, oh, that's a pretty good fight. The choreography's good. It's important to the story a little bit. But that was also a hard one to include. I felt more strongly about the Maul versus Maul and Savage and the virtual fight between Rey and Kylo.
And for the record, I did discuss it already. The Anakin Dooku is my favorite lightsaber battle. So I will, just so you guys know, Mike and Pete, I will be voting for it every time it's on the board.
That's good. That's good to know here. So,
except I think it drew a horrible matchup if it comes out of the. I think it's going up against Luke Vader episode 5 if it wins, which I just can't. I'm not sure what it was. I forgot, but it doesn't have a good matchup if it wins the play-in game.
Yeah, the playing games are a separate animal. Also,
it has to go to Kansas and play the Jayhawks if it makes it out of the first 4.
Yep.
The episode 7 Woods fight, I left it off for 2 reasons. One, every time I rewatch it, it's so dark it's hard to even see what's going on, which I don't like about just the cinematography of the scene. But I also don't like that. I mean, a lot of the fight is Finn actually versus Kylo, and then Rey kind of comes out of nowhere, gets the lightsaber, and I mean, I never really liked that she was able to so easily dismantle Kylo. So just didn't make the list for those reasons.
All right, so let me go ahead here. I'm going to throw up the full bracket here. So we're going to put this up here. So this will also share this on our social media channels here once we have the episode out here. So this is the full region bracket here. So the Luke Vader 5 is the 3. So the 1 seeds were Duel of Fates, the 1 overall, Battle of the Heroes number 2, Luke and Vader from Empire is number 3, and Ahsoka Vader is from Rebels is number 4. So Nick, shows it the credit to the animated shows that a animated lightsaber fight from Rebels is a number 1 seed in this bracket.
Oh yeah, definitely. And there it is. If my Anakin Dooku play and wins, has played Battle of the Heroes in the opening round, which is basically a road game in Kansas.
Yeah. And not for nothing, Pete. It's one of the matches we're going to talk about next week. Is the next week of the podcast, we're going to do these 4 play-ins separately and complete the full bracket. So I think it's interesting here, especially that matchup in particular. Obi-Wan and Vader's fight in Kenobi, I think, is very underrated.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think it's one of the stronger ones of the whole Star Wars franchise. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it comes out.
Yeah, so that's what's coming next week here. We're going to start us off here. We're going to turn these play-ins into actual battles here for the first 4. So that's coming next week on the podcast. And I want to thank you guys for coming on, as always. I really appreciate it. So Phil, Max, thank you for your hard work here. And I'm sure you'll be excited to keep up with us as we go through this bracket over the next few weeks.
Happy to help.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us. I did want to leave you with one final point. I think what caught Max and I both almost by surprise, even though we knew it, was the Filoni verse, in particular Mando, and no candidates, no lightsaber battles. We wanted to include Mando, but we realized there was just nothing to put on here.
Yeah, because the lightsabers and there's no like pure lightsaber battle in that show. I think Ahsoka got all of them.
I mean,
Yeah. So
isn't Ahsoka in the Filoniverse?
She has that.
Ahsoka, yes. I guess I should say the Mando verse. But yes, the interesting that the Mandalorian, given how successful it's been, no lightsabers.
I mean, the best lightsabers actually we got in the Mandalorian is Luke Skywalker mowing down Death Troopers, like Dark Troopers, which is not exactly like qualified.
Right.
And I really like the scene where Ahsoka fights Morgan Elsbeth with the Beskar spear. Like, that's just a really well shot scene. That's not a lightsaber duel.
It is not here. So look forward to having you guys keep track here. And audience at home, we're going to post this bracket on social media. So if you want to fill out your bracket and send it in, when we get to the final 4, we'll share some of the audience submissions on the podcast, Nick.
Yeah, I guess we'll put polls up and we'll try to share a picture from each battle, maybe, so that way you know exactly what battle we're talking about, and on the Instagram story, and then we'll have like the polls there, and we'll have what do we call it, the audience bracket?
You'll have the audience bracket going with the Instagram stories.
We called it when we did what was it? Show even on characters.
It's animated to live action bracket.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, just like we did for that.
Yeah, and Phil, I don't know if you're aware, Chopper won the audience bracket last year.
I am aware. You know my feeling on the droids. Do not think they should be eligible, but
yeah, he won the
You
audience.
like, what's his face? The Ahsoka droid sidekick as number 2.
I don't know who I think he beat Ezra, I think, in the final, I want to say.
Who won for us?
I think we gave it to Thrawn.
Okay.
Yeah,
Kind of tracks.
Yeah, so
you never know.
Leon was number 2.
When we recorded that one, Max and I thought Thrawn was a clear winner, and obviously the audience disagreed. So maybe
we did another bracket before, though, Mike, right? Prior, we did another bracket in 2022, right? I don't remember what that one was on. It was on like the next show.
Yeah, it was who's to get the next next show on Disney Plus, and I think we had Ray win the bracket.
And I don't remember who the audience had.
I don't remember who the audience had either. Now
I'm gonna guess it was Palpatine, but I don't remember.
I think the audience was Palpatine. I think they were high on Palpatine.
Which I guess, I mean, it didn't happen, but Acolyte was kind of their thought process, right? It could have easily just been a show about him.
They were heading that way.
Yeah.
All right. I want to thank you guys going on as well. So Pete, while following social media, I'm going to do that.
At Constant29 on Twitter, CONSY29, AP Tower 308, create the background behind me on Reddit, so make sure you check them out.
Nick, one more time. People on social media, I'm going to do that.
At Sky Guys Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, X, Threads, and TikTok.
Yeah, you guys follow me on social media, mphillips331. It's MPHILIPS331. This week over on Justin the Suffering podcast, we recap week 1 of the NFL season. There are week 2 picks. So I know Phil is not very happy how his NFL team did in week 1.
No, the NFL season's over. I'm scouting some college quarterbacks now, and we'll be in touch.
He's hopefully getting ready to play some fall softball too.
Fall softball and go Yankees.
Yep, we'll see how that
I'm
goes.
excited for this football season because I think this is the first time in really 6-7 years that we've been trying to do it that our team, and that's the Giants, is bad enough to actually get the first pick. Or they haven't been bad enough. They've been bad enough to get the 6th pick, and then everyone's gone. So they're actually bad enough to get the 1st or 2nd pick and actually get a quarterback instead of getting the 6th pick and having to pick the 4th quarterback or anyone else.
Well, Carolina doesn't.
True.
Yeah. Trust me, they're not as bad as Carolina, but it's possible. If they're playing Carolina on a neutral site, they could lose.
Yeah,
it would help a lot.
We'll see what happens on there, but we'll be back next week to start the bracket here with the first 4. That's coming up next week. Until then, may the force be with you.